I'm Bob von Bargen, President Emeritus of the Armed Forces Heritage Museum and your host for this series. In this episode, you will gain a greater understanding of flight operations using a Russian-built helicopter. Colonel Holm will explain his role as an air advisor. Let's join him as he shares his experiences with you.
Other things I did when I got there, I was running the elections. When I say running the elections, 2009 presidential elections all the materials needed to be transported. I didn't know I was going to be doing that, but I ended up working with the UN, working with the U.S. military, and coordinating all the transport of helicopters of all the different voting stations throughout Afghanistan. Holy cow. And that was like 3 weeks after my arrival. You never know what you're going to be running up against. Doing combat assault missions, getting ready to go into a town, and you have attack helicopters on your wing, and you're all fired up because you know the Taliban's in the town, and you look to your right in the upper right corner of this picture, and you'll see a little boy coming into my cockpit. Why is this boy in my cockpit? Well, the flight engineer didn't have a babysitter, so he brought his little boy with him on the combat mission. Oh, okay, that's all right. That doesn't quite match our stereotypical combat mission. Now you'll see me going on this combat mission, all fired up, landing in this village that had been taken over by the Taliban. The Taliban knew we were coming. They beat feet. And I land in this guy's backyard. In the lower left corner, you'll see this gentleman. I landed in his backyard. And I'll tell you, if you landed a helicopter in some place in the United States, you might get shot. What does this guy do? I am now his guest. That's very, very important in Afghanistan. It's binding of life or death. Now, if you happen to see the Lone Survivor, they talk about this. And in this case, this Afghan gentleman, I became his guest. He came out with candies and tea to welcome me to his home. And let me tell you something, he would defend me with his life. And I'm not kidding on that. And it's called Pashtunwali. It's one of their most endearing qualities. It's overwhelming, the amount of hospitality I was shown everywhere I went to Afghanistan. Well, I mean, I got shot at. It wasn't the best part. But if I landed and I met an elder and I was respectful to him, I am now his guest, and you could pretty much bet nothing was going to happen to me. And it was fascinating to see. Anyway, that shows that picture in the lower left corner. He was a very sweet man. And then in the lower right corner is another picture of me with an Afghan merchant that I met right outside of Kabul. Females in the military. You look at this picture right here. It shows a woman with a purple jacket. And you think, what's this woman? And oh, she's a pilot. Wait a minute. Afghans are oppressive to women. Where did they ever have an opportunity to train women? And right now the U.S. military is training women pilots. But she was trained before we got there. The Soviets trained the women. Well, why did they do that? I thought they were oppressive. No. They tried to bring a lot of the same cultural adjustments to Afghanistan that we're currently trying to do. Equality for everybody. That's a communist trait. And so they trained this young lady to be a pilot, and she was pretty decent. And I actually went flying with her. And she wasn't wearing a uniform at the time. She still felt uncomfortable about that. But she flew, and she flew good. What struck me about this particular flight was the flight engineer sitting between us, a man, was talking nothing but great praise of her and what she was doing and how she flew and how she was an instructor pilot. And he was proud of her and what she had accomplished. And it was something I hadn't quite expected. And let me tell you something. In Afghanistan, on a daily basis, that I did not expect that was almost a daily occurrence. You can't make this stuff up was a common patch you'd see on uniforms. There's a gentleman in the lower left corner that I met in northeast Afghanistan, in the village of Kunduz. He was a soldier. And this soldier, what I liked about him was, having been a prior soldier myself, and you sit around and you're eating your food and you're talking, and there's always a jokester in the military. And this was the jokester of this particular military unit. He just had us rolling in jokes for hours because we were weathered in, and he was as friendly, and he was so much like us, it was just struck me as odd, or maybe not odd. The other thing that really kind of interests me, I said, you were trained, you're an older gentleman, you were in the Soviet Army when you were here. What did you like about the Soviets? He thought. I think of a number of things he would have said, but I didn't expect this. I liked them because they brought us milk. Oh, I don't have any milk. That was his answer. And they always brought us milk, and I appreciated that. You never know what you're going to see. The next picture is of my beautiful helicopter, the Mi-17 Russian helicopter. Being in the Air Force, we like sleek, slender jets that go fast, and this is not it. It's a helicopter made in a Ukrainian tractor factory, and it was designed and built to survive in Afghanistan in the 80s. It's got power, it's slow, it's sluggish, but it is reliable, and it's a good helicopter. And I flew it everywhere. It was great in the dust. Next picture shows how dusty it can be in Afghanistan. It's great at altitude. I could land in small areas at high altitudes and still pick up lots of packs or drop off passengers. It was a phenomenal aircraft. This picture right here is at the bottom of this incredibly beautiful canyon up on the just short of the Tajikistan border. And we were dropping off election materials in this extremely remote location. It was so remote, even though we had been designated to deliver it, it was a village of Tongshio. It wasn't on any map. And I had this list of places. We got to go to Tongshio. And I looked at the Afghans. Where's Tongshio? And they said, we don't know. And so I had a little shura at this village. And I said, does anybody know where Tongshio is? And this elder raised his hand. Yes, I was there several years ago. How did you get there? By donkey. I said, well, leave the donkey, but will you come with me and see if you could show me this village? And sure enough, I had an idea of where it was, and I flew over it and heard commotion in the back of the helicopter, and we landed in the bottom of this incredible canyon that would be as beautiful as anything in the Grand Canyon, and the helicopter just operated incredibly. And here it is. We're in this remote location where they hadn't even hardly seen Afghans, and now they got a helicopter with a white guy coming out. They thought I was a Russian. They didn't know the war was over. So, very interesting. Okay.
Colonel Holm's work with the Afghanistan military certainly has many facets. He excels as a military officer and diplomat. In the next episode, he will tell you about his accomplishments in assisting the Afghan community, particularly the children. It's a great story. So, see you next time.